Is this Red Sox prospect ready to become a major piece of the big league club? What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to Red Sea Radio. My name is Corbin, and thank you very much for clicking on this video. Don't forget, we are currently raising money for the Movember Foundation, a foundation dedicated to bringing men's mental and physical health awareness and services to men all over the globe. It's a really important cause, so make sure if you would like to donate and help us reach our $3,000 goal, use the link in the description down below. Plus, if we do hit $3,000, one person who donates is going to win tickets to 2026 opening day at Fenway Park. So make sure you guys are a part of that and have a chance to win. So far this offseason, we've really been focusing on how the Red Sox can improve their roster externally, right? And that's obviously the big focus of an offseason. Trades, signings, so we're going to continue to talk about those a whole lot on this channel here. But one thing that we haven't really stopped and taken a second to talk about is whether or not an answer to this Red Sox, specifically pitching problem, could be a guy within their organization, because recently a couple of different analytical sites put out their projections for the 2026 season, and Connelly Early is smack dab in the middle of those as a guy who could really become a mainstay in this Red Sox rotation. So we're going to talk about that. We are also going to take a look at Fangraphs steamer projections, which are on the screen right now. Basically, they plug all of these sort of factors into an analytical model, and it comes up with what it thinks the Red Sox, or really any player in Major League Baseball, are going to do. They do it for hitting and pitching. We're going to be focusing on the pitching today, and we're just going to be talking about all the things that kind of stand out here, plus obviously focusing on Connelly Early here. But for example, one of the things that stands out to me is I don't understand how they're sitting there saying that Jordan Hicks is going to have this sort of comeback sub-4 ERA season in 2026, right? I mean, the dude had a 7 ERA in 67 innings this year and an 8+ ERA specifically with the Red Sox, yet he's projected to have a sub-4 ERA this year. I don't know, like, I guess he's done it a couple of times in his career over the past, and there is precedent set as to how he could get back to that sort of 4-ish ERA pitcher, but I didn't see anything, and genuinely nothing in his game last season that indicates, yeah, he's going to be able to take a major step forward in terms of being a productive player. Don't get me wrong, I'd be psyched about this. The Red Sox traded Rafael Devers for essentially nothing, so to get a mediocre bullpen pitcher or a fairly decent bullpen pitcher would be absolutely fantastic, because it is a bit better than nothing. I still have faith in Kyle Harrison, but still, Jordan Hicks is, one of the bigger pieces that came over, one of the three pieces, I should say, that came over for Rafael Devers, so it would be nice to have him actually perform in a Red Sox uniform. I just don't know how he depletes his ERA by essentially 5 runs over the course of one offseason. The second thing that stands out to me sort of overall here is just simply how many players Fangraphs is projecting the Red Sox to have start game for them in 2026. I mean, they have 10 different names on this list that they have making at least one start with the big league club this year. Personally, I would like the Red Sox to not have a million different starters during a season, right? I understand that injuries are going to happen. It's just the way baseball goes at this point, in its history, that starting pitchers are getting injured more often than anyone else in Major League Baseball, or really, you could probably say in professional sports at this point, right? There are going to be injuries. There are going to be guys who need to step up, but it would be really nice if the Red Sox had this sort of set 1, 2, 3 like they had this year for most of the season as well, right? And even those guys had some injuries last year, but 3 guys at the top of this rotation who were able to stay in this rotation for a majority of the season were a really big reason as to why the Red Sox made the playoffs. If they sort of transition away from that and more towards hey, we're going to sort of patchwork this rotation to the point where 10, 12 different names are going to get starts during the season, I think that could end up hindering their ability to find consistency in this rotation. So I don't love that projection one bit. They are kind of high, in my opinion, on Patrick Sandoval, who I think a lot of people, including myself, kind of forgot is in the picture, right? I mean, I don't really talk about him all that much, but they do believe that he is going to be a bit of a hybrid starter, making some appearances out of the bullpen, which I agree with. I do think they're going to start to try and figure out exactly how he could impact the Red Sox, and I could see him coming back in a bullpen role first and maybe transitioning over into the rotation if need be. He's projected to have a sub-4 ERA on the year, and that feels a little bit ambitious, doesn't it? He hasn't had a season like that since 2023. He is coming back from Tommy John surgery, so there's a little bit of Is there going to be some learning curve to get back to 100% health and stuff like that? I guess they did see Giolito do something similar last year, so it's not totally out of the realm of possibility. Just to me, it's a really, really interesting projection for Patrick Sandoval. Another interesting projection is how dirty they did our boy Brayan Bello here. I mean, I get it, right? He fell apart at the end of the season. He really didn't show up in the postseason, but a 4.4 ERA would be a full earned run higher than what he was in 2025. If the Red Sox actually do improve their defense this offseason, I just simply don't understand how Brayan Bello's ERA inflates to over a run plus. I mean, again, I get it. If you're taking into consideration his historical performance, right, there have been a bunch of seasons where he's been in that relative realm, where it's like a 4.1, a 4.2, whatever it may be, but a 4.4 ERA would be an incredibly disappointing step back for a guy who took a major step forward this year. And again, I get it. At the end of the year, he fell apart when it mattered most. But for 90% of the season here, he was by far and away your second best pitcher. I mean, he was one of the top 20 pitchers in the entire sport going into September because of his ERA. For him to start to fall back into that number 5 type starter would be an unbelievable disappointment. And again, kind of like Jordan Hicks here, I don't really see where the indications are that he's going to be the pitcher we saw in September for the entirety of 2025. So I don't love that one too much either. Another thing that I like, though, is that they do have Tolley as mostly a relieving role. It's not that I don't believe that Peyton Tolley can't be a legitimate big league starter at any point in his career. At this point right now, unless he takes a gigantic step forward this offseason, which I guess is completely possible, I think the most productive area of this team that he can impact in 26 would be in that bullpen role. With the Red Sox losing Matz and Wilson this offseason, I mean, they could potentially bring somebody in here, obviously, but I do think they're going to lean on Peyton Tolley pretty heavily out of the bullpen as sort of that potentially higher leverage lefty they are looking for in the absence of both of those guys. So I do like that they are projecting that. I don't love the fact that it's a 4 ERA, but I can understand, unlike a guy like Bello or a guy like Hicks, why that projection's where it's at. But to me, nothing on this projected list stands out more than what Fangraphs is projecting Connelly Early to do in 2026. I mean, this model absolutely loves this guy. Making 24 starts this next year, 141 total innings, a 3.83 ERA with a 3.91 FIP, an 8.63 strikeouts per nine, a 3.39 walks per nine. So a decent amount of strikeouts, not a ton of walks, an almost 50% ground ball rate at 48.2%, and stranding 73% of the runners that get on base. Also limiting his home runs under 1 and projecting to have an overall WAR of 2.4. And Fangraphs isn't alone in this, actually. They're not the only ones that are saying this dude Connelly Early, yeah, he could be a stud in the making for the Boston Red Sox. Baseball Reference also has their projections out for the 2026 season. If you want a video on that as well, let me know in the comment section. But they actually have him doing a bit better in a little bit less innings. They have him at like 70 innings for the year, which I could potentially see depending on the moves the Red Sox make, but they have him at a 3.73 ERA, a 1.214 whip, the strikeouts up 9+, and that walk rate and that home run rate, those all staying in that same area. And while this feels incredibly ambitious for a guy who's going to be, 23, 24 years old coming into the 2026 season, I don't think it's incredibly unrealistic to assume that Connelly Early could take this step up into a sort of breakout rookie of the year campaign type role. I mean, we saw him in 2025 as this sort of thrown into a playoff race type young pitcher, and he kind of dominated, didn't he? I mean, the dude only had 19 1/3 innings at the big league level, but it was a 2.33 ERA. It was a 0.91 FIP. There were a ton of strikeouts, not a lot of walks. You combine what he has in terms of raw talent with a full offseason preparing and understanding what he needs to do at the big league level, getting a year older, getting, probably more help from the big league club in terms of focuses of this offseason, potentially getting a full big league spring training with this team, right? There's no reason to assume that he's going to get worse as he gets more innings in Major League Baseball, right? I mean, he's going to be exposed to bit more for sure, but the talent has been there. If we're talking about the younger prospects on the Red Sox, these guys in the pitching pipeline, a lot of it is this sort of raw, unrefined talent. Peyton Toley's a prime example of that. Kyson Witherspoon's a prime example of that. Luis Perales is more so unrefined because of injuries, but still kind of in that same boat. Of those guys, Connelly Early is the most refined, right? He's the most polished. He's the guy who looks the most like a Major League Baseball player, and that has to be beneficial in combination with a year older, with more training, and with more preparation, and an understanding of what it takes to succeed at the big league level. I mean, the dude started the third game of a wild card series for the Red Sox. Now, that was out of necessity, not so much because of his performance, but still, right? That is incredible experience to take into what could end up being your first full professional year at the big league level. I think expectations should be high on Connelly Early, right? I think we should be sitting here saying this guy has the talent to be a legitimate impact star with the Boston Red Sox. I don't think a barely sub-4 ERA is a statistic where you sit there and you say, there's no way he can reach that. I mean, he gave shades of Brayan Bello this season, and I understand people have their gripes with Brayan Bello, but for a majority of the year here, again, Brayan Bello was a stud, right? He's going to be one of those guys, it feels like, Connelly Early specifically here, not Brayan Bello. I know I'm kind of getting confusing a little bit on you, but Connelly Early feels like one of those guys who's going to come into this season. Of course, he's going to go through his bumps and bruises, and of course, there are going to be times where you sit there and be like, man, this guy does not look like a big league pitcher. It's just how it works when you're making that adjustment to the big league level, but I could see a lot of games where he's striking out, 5-6 guys, generating a ton of ground balls, generating a ton of weak contact because of that polished arsenal he's sort of put together over this last year in minor league baseball and being a high ground ball guy. Right? To me, this is the projection that makes a lot of sense in my mind, and that's crazy to say because the projection is that he's the second best pitcher on the Boston Red Sox behind Garrett Crochet. Now, if the projection had been this guy's going to be better than Crochet, or this guy's going to throw 200 innings and win a Cy Young, I would have told you you're absolutely crazy. But I don't think this is out of the realm of possibility, and I also think this is something the Red Sox are projecting as well. It feels like they're very confident in Connelly Early. It feels like this is a guy who kind of has this fifth spot in the rotation to lose, right? I think there's going to be a really big competition in spring training for that fifth rotation spot, but right now I would say Connelly Early is very easily the front runner. Honestly, if we go back to taking a look at these projections as a whole, I do have one pretty big gripe with it, and it's that outside of Connelly Early and maybe a couple of other dudes in here, I would say one or two guys, every single player on the Boston Red Sox is expected to take not even a step back, a significant step back in their performance for 2026. To me, I don't understand why that's being modeled out here, right? I really don't, because not only did Bailey have some incredible performances this year where he was really able to transition this pitching staff into specifically the bullpen, the best bullpen in the American League, why is it projected that these guys are all going to get significantly worse? I don't truly understand that, but what I do think this projection does is I think it highlights exactly why we as Red Sox fans are demanding, not even asking, demanding that the Red Sox continue to improve this rotation, right? I mean, again, 10 plus guys making starts just simply is not a recipe for a playoff team, unless of course you're the Dodgers and your 10 guys have all won a Cy Young at some point, right? For the regular old baseball team here, you want to find some solid pitching in this rotation. You want to find some consistency in this rotation, right? And so this is why we sit here and we say the Red Sox need not a sort of floor-raising player, they need a ceiling-raising player. Right? Guys aren't going to continue to take steps forward. And Breslow has said this himself, right? That they can't expect every single player on this team to take a step forward. Now, I also don't agree that every single player on this team is going to take a step backwards, but bringing in a number 2 in here, getting a guy that could sit in between Crochet and, according to this, Connelly Early, but more realistically, Brayan Bello could be the difference between the Red Sox, taking that step forward and the Red Sox taking that step back. So ultimately, that's what I think the highlight of this is, but Connelly Early really stands out, and I think he should, and I think it should be a guy that Red Sox fans are incredibly excited about for 2026 and beyond. But let me know what you guys think. Let me know in the comment section down below. What do you think of Fangraphs projections? Do you think they're accurate? You think they're a little bit lower than what they should be? You think they're a little bit better than what they should be? Let me know all your thoughts in the comments. As always, if you made it to the end of this video, do me a favor, make sure you guys have hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. If you're new here, we talk Red Sox content almost every single day. Also, make sure you guys have hit the like button on this video as well. Just simply helps out a ton, and it's the best way to let me know you're enjoying the content. Thank you all very much for clicking on this one, and I will see you in the red seats.